So not often do we talk about sober reflections, but on today's episode, it calls for one. Welcome to Trash It. Now, in the virtual studios with today's, you've got your usual crew. You've got my co-host Celia, Ajike, Jebajantis, and obviously a Trash It virgin in the person of Yomi Thomas. Welcome to Trash It. Now, about 4 days ago, socialite Ubi Franklin put up a post, which has since been deleted, alerting the world that a school concealed the rape of a 10 or 13-year-old, it's unclear how old this child is, during an excursion trip to Dubai. It didn't take long, you know, social media, how we unheard things. CHRISLAND School in Lekki was mentioned to be the school in question, and a supposed sex tape landed on Twitter. Now, let me point out, here at Trash It, we do not condone or encourage viewership or sharing of the said video. It's against the law, and I would think morality will let us know that this is child pornography. It's something we do not encourage. Subsequently, we saw a video from the child's mom, the child who we now call Child X, giving us a timeline of the incident and how the school failed to inform the parents, and subsequently took this child off school 3 times, conduct pregnancy tests, and we're meeting with the child, coaching her on how to behave. All this, the school have actually denied. So I want to go around the panel because there's so many layers to this, which we're going to be unearthing or revealing or looking into thoroughly. I'm going to start off with Celia. What was the first thing that came to your mind when this news broke? Because you and I were communicating and shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah, I was quite shocked as well. And in my head, I thought another Nigerian, very expensive private school has let another child down, because not very long ago, the incident that happened when that child lost his life. And now I'm thinking another parent is having to go through a similar situation. I felt sorry for the child. I felt sorry for the mom when I saw that video. And when I read the post about Ubi Franklin, I felt sorry for her. And I watched the video of the mom talking about what happened and how they went to Dubai and how the school condoned all the information from her, and they didn't tell her. It took another parent to tell her. I felt sorry for her, because not as a parent, you do not want to go through that, and you do not want to think your child has endured and gone through whatever it was that she went through. So no, I felt very sorry for the child and for the mom as well, for that family.
Okay, thank you, Celia. Jabadantis, let me come to you. Like Celia said, this didn't even happen in the shores of Nigeria. It's happened in another country through a very expensive school. So what was the first thing that came to your mind? Because I think not just Nigerians saw this. This trended everywhere you can imagine, beyond the scope or the shores of Nigeria. So what was the first thing that you're like, oh my God?
So to be honest with you, whatever it is that they're sharing, as long as it involves kids, any parent will be disappointed. Any school will be disappointed. The kids involved may not really understand what they have done. And if I go back to our own period when we were in secondary school, I would say these things are not new. They've always been happening. It's just social media that is helping us to see things now. In this country, Western world, you see kids, 9-year-old, 10-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids getting pregnant for their mates. Who put it there? Their mates. So what's the difference? It's the same. That is not enough to say what they're doing is good. I'm just saying it's not new. These things happen everywhere. It's not a question of Nigeria, Uganda, Saudi Arabia, or...
Jawajantis, are you saying that when this news broke, you weren't shocked?
Of course, as a parent, who will not be shocked? Everybody will be shocked. But I'm not shocked because it's a new thing. I'm shocked because, wow, in the era of internet, these kids had to be stupid, you know, like put their parents on the blast. You know, everybody will be going for the parents now. No matter how you want to say it, the parents are going to be blamed first before blaming the school. Why will you blame the parents first? Because if they paid proper attention to the kids at home, there wouldn't be any reason for the kids to go into that kind of act in the first place. It's not a matter of school or whatever, because either they went on holiday or not. What I read online shows that the kid didn't learn those things from school.
All right, Jawadantis, we're going to come to the aspect of parenting. Right now, I just want to sense check what everyone is going to, and I'll come back to you. Let me go to you, Ajike, because you look shocked when Jawadantis said, well, this is not new. It happened when we were...
I was speaking to Celia. Celia sent me some things, and I told her, I said, at times everybody's experience is not what you experienced. I didn't experience this as a teenager. All these, some people are saying 13, 14 years having sex. I didn't experience it. People around me didn't do that. I did not grow up in a very, very, I wasn't brought up under strict Christian values. I wouldn't say that, but I still did not experience that. So when people are telling me 14, 15 years are having sex, it's strange to me. It is. I don't know about any other person's experience, but for me, it is strange. And when the news broke, was I shocked? No. I just felt that, the first question I asked somebody was that, what is the possibility or the probability of me putting my child and some other children in a room and they ending up being naked? And the person said, the person gave me that probability. And I said, it just comes down to values. I don't know, what everybody's running with in this life is very different. Some people are chasing money, some people are chasing fame, some people are chasing their children. Even in the chasing of the children, at times they call it helicopter parenting. That one has its disadvantages. There's no parent that has it all. But me, I was not shocked, but it's just like there are some values that I'm trying to instill values that these children don't have. I'm sorry to say, I don't know any other English to how to put it.
Ajike, I'm not trying to stop you, but I will come back to the value because this is something I can see Celia shaking her head, Jagodante's cap. This is something we really need to drill to, but I just want to get everyone's view and then we'll go back. Like I said, this is in layers. Yomi, you've heard from Ajike to Celia to Jagodante's. Everyone has a different perspective of the first thing that came to their mind. So when this news broke, you're a father of two wonderful girls. Yeah. What was the first thing that came to your mind?
To be honest with you, I wasn't shocked. And the reason I wasn't shocked was more of not really going with everything that is published on social media. I work in the security industry and we go by facts and evidence. But as the day unfolded and it became apparent what happened in Dubai, my very first question is, who sexually molested X? And that was it. So that was my first, because there is no way a girl of that age has not been exposed to a sexual activity and then for her to have actually carried it out on the school exception. So it's who molested X? Family member, family or friends, uncle, father, anyone.
Okay, that's a different thought, and we will come back to that because it's something we need to know because there are different angles to what actually happened. Let's go back timeline. The World School Games took place in Dubai on the 10th of March and concluded on the 12th of March. And obviously we didn't hear about this way in April. So is this about failed parenting or school responsibility? Could the school have done more? Do you think there were modalities in place to prevent such incidents from happening? Now, taking in mind 76 children went to this game from CHRISLAND or CHRISLAND
72.
76.
Wow.
So 76 went. We understand some parents went with their children. But if I'm paying 2 million per annum, you would imagine there'll be modalities. So I'm going to go to Jaguajantis. You were saying this is not news. We hear this. Everyone has echoed this. It's not shocking. This happened. But is this an aspect of failed parenting, or the school could have done more? Yomi said something. Child X may have been sexually molested. But if there's no modality in place for this child to display this, where do we take out the school? Let me go to you, Jaguajantis.
So trying to take the parents out of the picture is like telling the thief, oh, well done, but the owner of the item, why did you put it there? It's like blaming the owner of the item and leaving out the thief. Why did I use that proverb? No matter kids, even the ones under your nose, no matter how you separate them, you put the girls in one separate room and you put the boys in another room, they will still find their way to go and meet one another. Because I remember very well when we were in boarding school, the boys' hostel was very far away from the girls' hostel. We were having mock exams. You know, when you're preparing for WAEC, and every other student would have gone home, and only from 5 students remain in school. So boys will go from the boys' hostel at night after the school shuts down. You know, after prep, we go to the hostel, the girls go to their hostel, and after the school lights out, boys will go to girls' hostel. We will read together, eat together, cook in the girls' hostel. We weren't supposed to be cooking in the girls' hostel. That was our own crime then, cooking in the girls' hostel. And before daybreak, we will be back in the boys' hostel. Now, were we allowed to do that? No. Did the school prepare or provide facilities for us to be in separate places? Yes. But did we obey it? No. Were there securities to keep an eye on us? Yes, but we understood their patrol pattern.
Routine.
So
okay.
When to go and when not to go. And we were in the girls' hostel. And at some point, while we were sleeping, I just started hearing the bunk making noise. And I woke up and I looked around. Nobody else was saying anything. So I stood up and went up the bunk and I saw 2 guys having sex.
And 2 who?
2 guys, 1 boy and a girl. They were having
right.
So that's why I said these things, they're not new. So I had to stop them, like, guys, keep it low. What's wrong with you? They now, they broke off from each other. Unknown to me, every other guys sleeping in that same open hostel, they were hearing the same thing, but they weren't bold enough to stand up. It was in the middle of the night. And me, I did a yagbangba to go and stop them. So both of them thought I was the only one who saw what happened. In the following morning, the rumor went all over the place. The only difference was there was no internet. If there was internet then, this same story is what we'll be talking about. So they thought, oh, me, I was a snitch. I broke the news to everyone. Later on, the guys in the room started talking to me one by one. Wow, why did you stop them? You should have left them. You should have let them continue. You stopped the show. We were enjoying the sound, this and that. Do you get? So in that room in Dubai, you see all those kids in that same room should have been punished because they were comfortable. The only thing one of them complained about was the noise. So it wasn't new to them. They probably have been doing it for long. Could the school have done better? Yes, by putting a housemaster or housemistress in the same room with the girls and a man in the same room with the boys, so that when they're going out, when they're going astray, it will be like, come back here. It's not time for you to go out. If you're going out, we go to the dining together. If we're going for the quiz or whatever examination, we go together, we come back to the accommodation together. No going to the girls' room. That's what they could have done, in my opinion.
Really, how old were you guys in your school when that happened?
We were like, we were in necessary. That was
17.
Probably 16, 17. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jawajantis. Let me come to you, Yomi. Given what Jawajantis has said and given your background, could the school have done more, or is this an aspect of failed parenting? I know you picked up on something about child X there's a possibility that child X could have been sexually abused. We're going to touch on that. I don't want you to go in that because obviously that's another layer or kettle of fish. But I want you to look from the perspective of parenting and school. Could they have done more? Because you could have an aspect of lackluster attitude from the school.
Yeah. So I'm going to address it in a various bit. I think we would do a great injustice if we try to zero in on a particular area that failed. There has been a systematic failure from parents, it's very obvious, from the school, it's very obvious, from Lagos State government, very obvious. Just before we started, I just thought, oh, okay, let me do a quick check. Let me go to Lagos State website and go and look at their child protection policy, etc., I really didn't see much on the system, apart from the Dowen College and the issue with the Dowen College, and then they quickly did a seminar where they invited 400 primary, secondary school, etc. Here in UK, I mean, you know that every year there's an inspectorate that goes into school and check the system, and based on the policies and everything that they have, then they grade them from bad to fair to good to bad, to outstanding. There's nothing there that I could actually pick up. I went to CHRISLAND College School. I looked at the child protection policy. It was last reviewed in 2018.
Jesus.
Now, if you look at, okay, they went to Dubai. There's nothing wrong with that. It's an expensive, it's a private school. That is part of the perks that comes with going to schools like that. It happens here in UK, and I'm sure anywhere that is a private school. But let me pick on something that Jagmadachi said that I don't think is feasible, having a mistress in each of the room. 70 students plus, if you're going to have, you know, mistress in each room, so you're talking about, okay, let's just say that there are 2 beds, single bed. You're looking for a 3-bed. So that means that 1 mistress per 3 children.
3 children.
And from what we heard, we understand that, you know, just about 5 teachers or so
five
went
teachers
with them.
went.
Okay, let's even say that some of the parents went with them. What I would have expected is that the parents that went with them should stay in the room with their children. At least that safeguard their children. And then it's just a small cluster of the children that didn't come with their parents, which X is one of them, that could have looked at it. From what I've picked up so far, and it is alleged, I don't have evidence, is that the boys and the girls were separated. I think the boys were on 2nd floor.
They were on the 10th floor, and the girls were on the 2nd.
Were on the 2nd floor. And if that is the case, and X went all the way to the 10th floor after they have actually checked them in, it's very difficult. And that's why I say that there's just no way. When, I mean, for those who remember Victoria Klimbe issue happened, when Bishop Inquiry did, there were flaws in the police, in the NHS, in the social services, and the schools as well. Everyone that actually had a touch point that Victoria Klimbe went through, there was systematic failure. So I don't think that we can put a magnifying glass on one aspect. All the school, the parents, the Lagos State government, they all failed. Now, when we're picking each, you know, element of, then we can actually dive in it. So for me, all failed, to be honest.
Thank you, Yomi. Ajike, parent failure or school failure. But before you answer that, it was alleged that child X lent out a phone charger to one of the children. And at nighttime, one of the boys called her up in the room and said, "Can you come and collect your phone charger?" You were talking about values, and I'm not trying to blame child X, but what do you think is the principle? Because we're narrowing it down now. We've said the school probably failed. 5 teachers to 76, some parents were. What exactly is the core problem here? Could the school have done more? I would have preferred, it's not my child, but I'm sure some parents would prefer to have an adult in the room with children. Does that safeguard the children from sexual abuse?
I have explained it. Yes, I have explained it. These rooms are like maybe maximum 3 children in a room. How many people will be with them? You know, they will say, you know, when you are going somewhere. Me, when I was young, say, oh, see,
remember the child of
you know, some values. There's some things. There are some things that I just feel, many things that are lacking. Maybe self-esteem. Like Yomi said, she might have been abused before. You know, a lot of children just want to be liked, just want to be, you know, there's that wanting to belong kind of, and it's a very strong hold on them. So maybe they told her something, maybe there was one of them she liked. You know, at this age too, you know, whether we like it or not, there's all this teenage crush. You know, even when we were younger, you know, as much as things were not, there was a 90210 Hollywood, you know, where some people in schools crushing on each other, this one crush, that one crush. You know, all these things, their bodies are changing, they are feeling certain things. You know, this is where, you know, you begin to talk to your children. Then, fear, fear of, I don't know about now, but that time, if I remember my mother, I remember my father, and I remember when it's Timoche, I will remember the sense. If the sense has gone, sense will come back, I will turn around and go somewhere. I know another thing is that these children, they are not very street smart, they are not street savvy. But again, Jagwajansi said, we are seeing many of them, all these public schools, many of them, they fall pregnant. They do, so there's also that are street smart, but everything is the same thing. So I don't know, I can't really, for me, my own stand was that yes, the school has some faults, has a fault, but the school is not art. Is that art? I don't know the English, I know that's the way the school has faults, but the school is not art faults. Yoruba will say, see the baba jetoni the no matter. If your bomb spoil, the bomb is your own. And in this, I also come from the Bible. I tried to look for the scripture, but I didn't find it. But I read Proverbs a lot, and Proverbs I even learned that Proverbs is not. It's just sayings. Anybody can run with it. Muslims, Christians, it is there that. When you raise a child right, it's in the Bible. It's not what they say. If you raise a child right, the father will stand and say, "This is my child." When you raise the child wrong, the same Bible said it, they will blame your mother. In as much as our own generation, we are trying to balance mother and father training the children, but primarily by nature, the breast is on your chest. That's raising the child. You have been implicated by nature. So I don't know what some people will come and fight me or that I raise father. How you want to raise your house is your business. And another thing is that these parents may have raised this child right to these children. You know how to fall your hand. They know how to fall your hand. My son is number one. He will tell Jeremiah, he will just do what he wants to. So I understand. And you'd have to Jeremiah, when you get there, you greet them, make sure you greet. When you get there, just be looking like this. Be looking. And they will not know that I've told him. In fact, that was the preaching from when I drove to when I parked. That was the preaching. So at times, that's where I now began to look at this woman. So she may have said something. She might have spoken to this. And that's where the self-esteem issue. That's why I brought out the self-esteem issue that maybe the girl had self-esteem issues and all that. So it's really just complicated. We can't really just blame everybody. I don't blame everybody and not blame anybody too. So it just depends.
Okay, I like that. Complicated. Celia, I'm going to come to you with a different question. Now, actress Tonto Dike might not be the good example, but she described the act and the court of protection, I won't say court of opinion, who have watched this video, concluded that it isn't rape, but an experienced act by child X, who may have been a victim of sexual abuse. Now, how do we get to say this? They're saying that the child has experienced sex. Is this rape or child pornography?
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen the video and I don't wish to. So it'll be difficult for me to answer that. But I just feel regardless of whether she was, according to Tonto's description, that she seemed very experienced and, she wasn't raped and all of that. Regardless of that, I think what went on was still not right. It shouldn't have gone on at all. And also, did she know what she was doing enough? Because someone recorded it. So I don't know if she knew it was being recorded or not. If she had known it was being recorded, did she consent to it? Did she know what she was doing? Did she understand the implications of what she was doing? There's a possibility.
They were as young as she was.
Sorry?
I think the boys that were there were as young as she was.
Yeah.
They're age mates.
So yeah, so I don't know, Yomi, maybe you can help us with this, because when it's the same age bracket, is that still rape? Or it's not? I mean, okay, yeah, I know if it's not consensual, then it's rape. But then we don't know whether it was consensual or not. And okay, according to Tonto's,
Celia, let me bring it. So the child is reported to be 10. Some people are saying she's 13. Some people are saying she's 14. The boys, nobody on this panel has seen this video, but we're picking up snippets from Twitter and people that have actually watched the video, which we condone. We don't condone. Now, Celia, the boys were alleged to be 11.
Right.
So they're both in this. All these kids are in the same age group.
I didn't even the same class.
So from what I have read, the challenge here is that both are not at the age to give consent. So the fact that they were, involved in a sexual act could be termed as rape, but who is raping who?
Thank you. Right? Who is raping who?
Who is raping who? And if you try to stand that in the court of law, it's just gonna wash. Is it pornography? Well, what is really the definition of pornography? Is when a sexual act has been ordered deliberately, either in books or pictures and so on and so forth. The question was raised, I don't know who asked it, that was the X and Y, were they aware that, the film was actually recorded? From the description that I have heard, even as an adult at my age, I have never experienced those sexual dispositions alleged that sexual an X act. So, and trust me, I'm not as young as I look, and I'm wondering, how did this girl know how to perform this sexual activities? Which goes back to what I said earlier. Now, one of the other things that I actually picked up is that, she has an Instagram page with over 500 sexual connotation videos where she's twerking,
something like that.
So again, it just goes back to what I said, that you really cannot separate. They're just too interwoven to actually separate where the fault lies. One of the things that I think I heard the mom said is that when it was initially brought to her, it was brought to her as in she was involved with a boy and she was kissing a boy. And the mother's first reaction was to beat the child. So when some of these things happen, and this is where I'm trying to get, my own direction of travel as here, that even let's say that she was sexually molested, the girl is not comfortable enough to come and tell her mom because she knows how the mom will react. And then it might be once, it might be multiple times. She's so much ingrained into it that she's accepted it, and then she's doing what she's doing. Because I'm just surprised what I heard that she did. I have never experienced it in my entire life. You see, and for a 10-year-old to know that, we need to look beyond just the school or the mine is just the psychological health of.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. You were going to say something before.
Yeah, but what I also heard was that apparently she allegedly had sex with all the boys in that room. I don't know how true that is. I mean, if she had sex with one and then ended up having sex with the others, then maybe the first one was consensual, even though it shouldn't still be because she's not at the age of consent. And then having sex with the others, then, and maybe if that wasn't consensual, then is that, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is such a mess. Okay. And again, sorry, Yuri, just before you move on, we regard, in as much as the school and the parent is to blame, but I feel because the child was in the care of the school at the time the incident happened, I believe that the school should take more the school is to blame more than the parents. Yes, I know maybe she might have been abused at home or whatnot, but I feel like if a school like CHRISLAND, right, you're taking 72 children abroad. 76 children abroad. Seriously, if you know you have not got at least a 3-to-1 ratio of adults to those children, you have no business going on that trip. You don't, and you need a waking night staff, a waking night teacher, a teacher that will be awake the whole night, making sure that those kids are in their bedroom and they're sleeping when they should be sleeping. They're doing what they should be doing at the set time, because these children are very smart. They find every opportunity to leave and go and do what they want to do. So I haven't heard that the school have put measures in place to deter or to prevent anything like this from happening. So if they're saying it's one teacher to 7 children, and then the teacher at night is sleeping, and the children might have pretended to be sleeping, but then they leave the room, then I'm sorry, the school failed in a way because they did not protect those children enough. Yes, the parents are also to blame, but the child was in the school, the child was with the school, so they should take more responsibility for this particular action.
Okay, now moving on, and I will come back to that because there's something Celia touched and Yomi, which I need to expand a bit, but I want to ask something. This is for Ajike and Jagbajantis. Let's look at the school in question. Okay, I'm not trying to absolve the parents of the blame. We will come to parenting. But in 2019, a judge convicted and sentenced a supervisor of the school to 60 years imprisonment for defiling a 2-year-old child. So as a parent, what questions should you be asking before you enroll your child in a school like this? Now, CHRISLAND is not a dump. The school fees is like 2 million per annum or more than that. This school has been known to have series of catalog of failures when it comes to child protection issues. Do you think parents are actually doing the right homework before they send their kids to the school, using this school as a case in point?
Personally, I don't like schools that have a lot of students. It's one of my rules, my personal rules. I don't like schools that the children they have many branches, they have many children, all those kind of things. Because no matter what, those kind of schools, I feel they're just after the money. I don't know if it's true, but that is how I feel about such schools. So I don't bother myself going to those kind of schools. I look for a small school, I augment it with lesson teacher, and we move on with our lives. CHRISLAND, like you said, they've had, in fact, you only mentioned that one. I think they've had a swimming incident. I think a child died in school. Yeah, I think a child died in school. I think he went back to the pool. There was no lifeguard at the pool. The guy drowned, I think so. So they've had those kind of stories, all those kind of things. In as much as, like, now that Celia said it's true, they should have had a night nurse or a night doctor or a night somebody. But if they were all tired, they could have asked somebody in the hotel, maybe ask them for a maternity D or whatever, somebody to just.
But Ajike, sorry to cut you in. This is the thinking that needs to go into things like this that the school didn't do. All they just saw, in fact, 78 students. What are they all doing in this game? Like, or whatever.
It's like a World Cup. They do tennis, they do running.
What are they doing? It's too much. It's too much.
It wasn't
the
done
thing is,
night.
sorry, Bidemi, 1 second. Since they know, right, that these teachers are going to be, in activities and all of that, they could have put out for volunteers, for example, right? And I'm sure they were thinking, now we cannot just pay your ticket to go to Dubai and then book a hotel for you. It's too expensive for us. Because what they need, if they're going to have 10 teachers, for example, in each room, and they divide the ratio of the students accordingly, right? Those 10 teachers should have a replacement, right? So that when whoever's done the waking nights can go off and sleep during the day, whilst another teacher can take the children to whatever activities they need to do. You see, but the thing is, the school did not think about all of this because I don't know if they can't just think that deep. Okay, for them, taking the children abroad is already a big deal, and they feel like they're already doing the children, the family, a favor. So for them, thinking about the security and safety of those children came very secondary to them. They didn't put it at the forefront. That should have been what they should be thinking of first. And if they are not able to provide the level of security those children needed, it's either they reduce the number of children going or they don't go at all, because the welfare of the children is paramount than anything else.
Thank you, Celia. Jagbajantis.
Just to correct you guys, that thing didn't happen at night. It happened during the day.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it didn't happen at night. It happened during the day. And another thing that I want to bust your bubble with is that video was not meant to be released to the public. The video only came out because they were trying to make the boy look like the rapist. Yeah. Now, one thing you should also pen down, one thing you should also take into consideration is the fact that that is never going to be the only video in the possession of the students. There will be so many other videos in so many mobile phones if they had collected phones from the kids. So the one we saw is what we're talking about. I mean, the ones we saw people talking about online, discussing here and there on blogs, is what we're talking about. How about the other possible sex tapes on different mobile phones belonging to students from the school? So if I remember very well, on one of those publications online, there was a part where they said everybody in the room was okay. They were just going about their own business, right? And there were other girls in the room.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And there is every possibility that the video was recorded by another girl. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to understand that when these kids are going on rampage, it's somewhat like a competition among them. I'm badass, I'm this and that. And like he rightly said, like Yomi rightly said, there are so many other videos on our page doing all these dancing, twerking, and all sorts on our likey page. I didn't even know that she has another one on Instagram. So when you look at those things and you examine those things, you will know that these kids, they all have a kind of trend. This is something they do in school, like, yeah, I'm the baddest chick.
I was trying to say the 90210, all those scandals, all those things actually happen with these children.
Exactly. So that video was not meant to come out. And that's not the only video. There will be so many other videos that we don't even know about in the mobile phones of the kids in that school. That girl is not the only culprit.
Okay.
Yes.
Jabajantis, you made a good point. Yomi, let me go to you to this. Leading on what Jabajantis has just said. We all went to secondary school. Apparently, this is not new. People usually, well, I wouldn't say usually because I never experienced it, but I understand kids, like Jabajantis made an example. Some kids did have sex in school. We didn't have camera phones to document it. Do you think social media fueled this? Because we've got celebrities like, I hate to say this, Tiwa Savage and is it Oxlade, what's his name? Dropping sex tapes like candies. And these are these children's role model. I don't understand why another person apart from your parents will be your own role model, because that's another kettle of fish. So Yomi, do you think social media fueled this? I've never heard of Likey. I didn't even know there's something called Likey. Has anyone heard about Likey?
Ever.
So
did social media foil it? Yes, but this is where I will now blame the parent, to be honest with you, because look, whether we like it or not, we cannot police our children 24/7. It's impossible. You may be able to police what they do when they're at home, but when they go to school and they spend 7-8 hours and you control what they're doing, you can't. But the training that you give, I think one of the scriptures that unless it's not that one in particular that JK was trying to call up is, train up a child in the way he should grow, and when he grows up, it will not depart from it. And if a child does well, the father is praised. If a foolish child does wrong, the mother is blamed. So in this situation, there's no two ways, because I wasn't even aware that there would be Franklin or whoever that posted it was more in the line of, they were trying to paint the boy in a bad way. Look, if this happened in Dubai, I can guarantee you it's happened elsewhere. I can guarantee you it's happened in the school. And what Jack Vananti said is absolutely right. Collect their phones, check it, and then you would know how far back this has actually gone wrong. But where I will put the blame on the parents is this. Look, as parents, we can decide when our children should have a phone or not. My girls have a phone. I know the age they have a phone. Before they went on the social platform to have an Instagram page, they asked for my permission, because I told them that, look, your dad is an IT expert. If you put anything on social media, I don't care if you use a pseudonym, I will find you. And if I find you, I will embarrass you on social media. There's no two ways about it. So your best is add me to all platforms that you're in. At least you know that your dad is there, and anything that you're doing, I can actually pick it up. Definitely, the social media, I would say, played a role, but the parents should actually police and done everything out. For a child to have 500 plus images on Instagram or TikTok,
It says a lot.
says a lot. It really, really says a lot.
We have someone joining us. So if you're just joining us or just tuning in to Trash It, we are discussing the CHRISLAND School Saga with Child X. And joining us is a good friend of mine, Obi. Obi is a Trash It virgin. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
And I would introduce everyone. Obviously, this is the first time Obi is joining. You've got Celia, my co-host. You've got Ajike. You've got Jagwa Jantis, and you've got Yomi. Obi, thanks for joining us, and welcome to the show. So before I go to Obi for the questioning, let me come to you, Celia. Like I said, social media. Could this be the issue that has prompted this?
Could it be social media has prompted what? Prompted them to record the video?
Because it appears to be the norm. We have sex tapes out, and sometimes children tend to copy things.
Yeah, there is, I mean, I don't understand why anyone would have sex and record it, let alone children having sex and then record it. And as I said earlier, did she know, did child X and Y, did they know the video was being recorded? And again, yes, there might be a possibility that maybe they might have heard or perhaps seen Tiwa Savage's sex tape, and they might have thought, okay, you know what, I can be like Tiwa, because apparently she was doing a boss it challenge, right? So again, children learn from imitating, from seeing what others do, and then they copy it, you know? So yeah, it's possible that they might have seen someone's sex tape, or you know, one of their mentors, or all these social media celebrities that they adore, and they might have, oh, okay, since she did that, I can do it as well. I mean, it's sad, but a lot of children might have also heard about this Kim and what's his name? Ray J's sex tape as well. And then they want to, because the thing is, a lot of all this, what you call it, BTME, Snapchat, people are doing things on Snapchat, private viewings and all of that. OnlyFans, people are doing that, and it's become the order of the day in Nigeria, and people are owning it and saying, you know, this is how I'm making money because the country is too hard. Is it possible that these children might have been exposed to videos like that, or they might have seen things like that, and for them, they want to imitate and they want to copy what they've seen? I really don't know, honestly. This has been a very difficult one, because I don't know. But yeah, it's possible.
I was going to go to Obi, but I'm not sure if she can hear me.
Yes,
Obi,
yes, I can hear you.
Now, Obi, I'm going to bring you in because I want to, and this is not me putting pressure on you, but for someone that has been in the public light, probably experienced what, because in your case, you were assaulted on the grounds of Olashore International School. And at the time, obviously, we didn't have social media, but I can imagine what you went through in school, which you've documented a lot and you keep speaking about. And I think there's a lawsuit now with Olashore, if I'm right. Obi.
Sure. There's a lawsuit currently with one of my assaulters. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lawsuit. So I want you representing Child X here. There's so much bashing of this child, and I'm going to shift gears a bit. These preteens, they're preteens because they're not fully teenagers, to be honest, engaged in sexual acts, a boy and a girl. And over the timeline, what we've been talking about is the girl. At no point have we talked about the boy. And by extension, we have actually labeled the mother as inadequate in the court of public opinion. But I want you to think about Child X, given what you've gone through, how much you've been vilified on social media. What do you think Child X is thinking of right now as we speak?
So, and I'm sure you've listened to me talk a couple of times. So yes, there is the issue of Child X, but I want to start top down. So I'm hearing a lot of conversation around social media, a lot of conversation around the influence of celebrities. I'm 35 years old. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s. We didn't have social media. And a lot of people speaking now also grew up during those times. We did not have social media. Yet, I recall one of my earliest memories. In fact, the first exposure, and I was like, what is this? And I thought about it this morning, I was in primary 2. And I won't mention the name of the school, and I won't mention anything else, but I went to the girls' bathroom, and then you had to take permission to go to the girls' bathroom. And I heard noises in one of the stalls. And this is primary 2, I was 6 years old. And I heard noises in one of the stalls, and I was like, what is happening? So I climbed the toilet seats to look over into the other stall, and there were these siblings making out. I didn't know what they were doing at 6 years old. It was very weird to me, So when I got home, I had a conversation with my twin sister on what I saw. There was no one to ask. I didn't know what I was looking at, and I'm sure, listening to people have honest conversations, we didn't have social media in our time. Yet, as you went through primary and secondary school, there would have been instances of exposure to sexual activity from your peers. Now, as we've grown older, especially since I came out and spoke about being sexually assaulted, I've had both females and males come to me to talk about their experience growing up being sexually assaulted. So there is a big thing that we're all missing here. At some point, children are exposed to sexual activity. And when they're exposed, some of them don't even know what it is, but it has registered. Even for adults, once you have your first sexual encounter, for most people, you start to crave it. You don't understand why. More so a child that is still figuring out and learning things. They don't understand what they're experiencing. But yet, somebody has exposed them to something that they shouldn't be exposed to. And given the society that we all grew up in, a lot of parents are not or haven't built a relationship that allows honesty between them and their children. Now, say for instance, you're the kind of parent, oh, your child can't have a phone, your child can't talk to boys, your child can't do anything. If your child, perchance, and predators are very smart, most people that assault children are people known to them and in their family circles. How will your child have the confidence to come to you to have a discussion, an open discussion on what they've been exposed to, if those kind of conversations have never happened before? If they don't feel that they can trust you, because I see a lot of mothers and a lot of fathers saying, it's mobile phone, it's social media. It is not. We have a rotten society that does not hold abusers, assaulters accountable.
Thank you.
You have family coming and beg. And those people go on to continue the cycle of sexually assaulting and harming other children. It is reprehensible that adults expect a 10-year-old to reason like an adult. It is reprehensible that adults expect preteens to reason like adults. And that is the other side of things. Everybody says this 10-year-old is a rotten child. No child is born rotten. Something has happened, and there is no duty of care to find out what. Now, coming back specifically to CHRISLAND School, there was an under 3-year-old who was sexually raped, actually, by somebody on the grounds of that school. So, and the thing is, we don't think about the long-term implications of abuse. I was sexually assaulted by a group of boys and beaten after. And I wouldn't say I was an adult, I was 16 years old, but I was older. I know the impact it has had on me regarding even forming relationships, intimacy, all of that. Now, if somebody has not yet even understood the concept of sex, is abused, without any recourse to therapy. I was lucky, my parents even took me to therapy, loved me, tried to find out, but I didn't have any sense of worth because after it happened, I was beating up severely after. And for years, people said whatever they wanted about me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to prove all of you right. Till I was like, no, I'm going to prove all of you wrong. Now, this is me as a 16-year-old. What will that do to a child? And I want us to have this conversations. What will that do to a child? A child, recall yourself as a 10-year-old. And the thing people forget is, if there's anything you should have ownership over, anything you should own, it should be your body. Your body is yours. You know, now imagine at such a young age, you don't even feel like you own it. You don't know what it is. Your body is just something. And we're not coming at it from a place of compassion to understand what has happened. Now, regarding this whole CHRISLAND case, people say, oh yes, they said it was rape at first. And this is why I'm very passionate about educating Nigerians on what consent is, what rape is, and how the law views minors. Now, a lot of people don't even know that they've been raped in Nigeria because people don't even understand what consent is. You know, people don't understand what grooming is. People don't understand the concept of intimidation when it comes, if you're intimidated to have sex. Like people say, oh, the help in the house had sex with the boss. I'm like, no, the boss is responsible for her feeding, accommodation, and what else have you. That is rape. If somebody has a significant upper hand, your boss, whatever, you know, you have to do the person's bidding to keep your job, to keep a position. That is not consent. And I think that is the base we need to start from.
Obi,
and a minor cannot give consent.
Obi, sorry to interrupt you. With that instance you've just made about the work thing, right? Because the person is in a position of authority. But don't you think that person has a choice to make whether to give in or to not have that job if they don't give in?
So I mean, we can make these assumptions from a place of privilege. So if somebody makes me that kind of offer, I have, you know, I went to good schools, I have a solid family background, I have a backup. There are people that are breadwinners in their situation. They are responsible for their ailing parents. They are responsible for every need in their family. They don't have that luxury. And we always forget that the world it's not the same for everybody. All fingers are not equal. So even if you say no to something, you still feed today. A lot of that is a luxury for a lot of people. I went to uni and I was getting a significant amount of allowance, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm managing. I didn't have a lot of money because I went from Olashiri to a private university. Although the private university, what we paid a year was like what we paid a term in Olashiri. So I was very comfortable. And then I started to make a lot of friends, because when you come out from that kind of school, you come into it where you have the opportunity to be able to meet a lot more people from wider backgrounds. you know, and then you understand that you were born into privilege. You know, it was when I went to university, when I left university, that I understood how much privilege I was actually born into. So before we expect, and I always tell like people that morality is a privilege. You know, if you were raised in an orphanage and immediately after the orphanage, when you're 18, you're thrown out into the streets, you're semi-literate, you don't know how you're going to make money, your choices will be very different from the choices you're making in your current situation. And this comes back to learning compassion, trying to walk in someone else's shoes. Because if we try to walk in another person's shoes, we would give people a lot more grace.
Okay.
So I don't know if I've answered your like question, but yeah.
Thanks, Obi. I'm gonna come back to you, but let's welcome Shade onto the show. If you're just tuning on to Trash It, today we're talking about the CHRISLAND School Saga with Child X. I'm gonna shift gears and go to the men for 2 seconds, and this is for Yomi and Jabajantes. Going from what Obi and Celia have touched on, it's overdue that the standard set for children, especially a girl child, is very low, in the sense that, let's agree the girl did what she did, but she didn't record herself, neither did she put out this footage. Where are the fathers in this? Because the only people channeling Child X happen to be women. I'm not saying men are not doing that, but if you look at the percentage, we've got mothers rallied up. We're talking about it. Where are the fathers? Because you can argue for a boy of 11 years old. I'm not a boy, but I've got nephews. I don't think they think about erection at that age. They're often shy. Where did they learn this?
So, like somebody mentioned and pointed to Tiwa Savage earlier on and Kardashian, I want you to understand that these girls, these kids, they are wilder than Tiwa Savage. They've been doing this for a long time, long before Tiwa Savage's video came out. So this thing, like I said, this video we're seeing wasn't meant to come out. They have it like that in their phones. The only reason we're seeing the video is because they came out to say it was a rape case. And some people wanted to prove to the world that it wasn't a rape case. That's why we are hearing about the video here and there, reading about the stories here and there. So they were blaming both kids before, but because the mom came out to act like her daughter was the innocent one in the whole picture, that's why the video came out. So both kids are wrong.
Sorry,
It's
but can I
interject? Being crucified. Do you get?
Sorry, but can I interject?
Sorry?
Rape actually happened. Minors cannot give consent. So in that case, in this case, there is statutory rape. And in cases of statutory rape, the adults that was present will be held responsible. It's like kids playing with guns and someone gets shot. The kid is not going to be tried for murder. The adult that was supposed to be supervising the kids is going to be standing trial.
Okay.
And it all comes back.
I'm going to come back to Jabadantes, but can a minor rape?
Sorry?
Can a minor actually rape?
So that is, so a minor, and this is where it gets tricky. It gets tricky. So a minor can actually rape. So there can be double charges. It can be, yes, the minor raped, but there's also statutory rape, because this is minors are not supposed to be left unsupervised. You know, if there's any harm that comes to a minor, the adult that is in charge will be held responsible, which is why, you know, and I'm not sure it happens in Nigeria, but abroad, if your child is going on.
There's no adult in charge here.
Sorry?
there was no adult in charge here. It was as if these children were just left to their own fate.
No, you can't say there was no adult in charge. The school took them on a field trip. So typically, if you take a child, like if you're going on an excursion, and we used to have it when I was in school, or if you're going away for any event, your parents, and you will sign a document of authority or whatever,
yeah,
handing over the safety and well-being of your children to the school. So there is documentation saying, okay, we're handing over. And when you're on school grounds, the fact that you've paid school fees, the school has your records, blah, 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 means that, okay, oh, my child is here. The school is 100% responsible for the care of my child while they are on school grounds. It's like us, we're in the office. If you go on official assignment and anything happens to you, you were going on, something related to work. And as such, if anything happens to you, your place of work will handle compensation. And that is the same thing. They went away to Dubai, to a different country. So there will be forms. And if that hasn't happened in this case, I would be very surprised for a school of, what's the name of the school again? CHRISLAND's caliber, that there is no documentation handing over, because the key issue is, if you're saying, oh, there were not enough teachers or the teachers were tired, I maybe it's because it's Nigeria, because I can't understand that excuse flying in a lot of countries where we're raising kids.
Obi, you said something very strong. You said there was a case of rape. Who raped who?
So that is, we don't know that. We don't know that, I've seen adults talking about seeing a video. No, we don't know. We don't know who raped who. But for now, what is at hand, and people, I've seen all sorts of titles with the press, which is problematic in itself. Now, let's cast our minds back to a very common case that we all know, one involving Prince Andrew, for example. Even though the girl was, and I think she was 16 or 17 or 15, 17. I can't remember.
She was 15.
She was
sure.
15. Either 15 or 17.
Yeah.
She was a minor. Yes. But she was recruited as an escort of sorts.
Sex slave or something like that.
Regardless of, because and this is where we need a better understanding of our laws. Because I know if it was in Nigeria, they would say, oh, but she agreed to work as that. A minor cannot give consent to that kind of, so that is why it is complicated. Okay. And that is why in this case, you cannot say, oh, we will absolve CHRISLAND of responsibility, and we can't say no crime happened. Because minors are involved.
Okay, I'm going to move a bit and we're going to come back to this. Once again, if you're just tuning on to Trash It, we are talking about the CHRISLAND Saga with Child X. Like I said, nobody on this panel has actually seen the video. But let me go to Yomi. Yomi, the same question I asked Jagajantis. Where are the fathers? What is the role of the men here? Because we can say Child X may have been sexually abused, but she didn't perform this act by herself. These boys, technically, with a lack of better word, I would say, gang raped her if we're saying it's a rape. So, as men, where do you guys fit in this, in the thought process of, so that there's no repeat? Because I can't guarantee as we speak, another child is not being sexually abused. I can't guarantee that. And like Javan Chances said earlier, this appeared to be a deeper issue. We just know of this. If we were to have taken these children's phone in Dubai, maybe there'll be so many things that we'll be seeing. So as a father, where are the fathers in all of this? Yomi, you're mute.
Sorry. You know, when you were asking the question, the very first thing that popped up in my head is a scripture that said, a faithful man who can actually find, or even a faithful woman. The challenge always for me can be more or less expressed in the video of the mother. You will notice that when she was actually talking to the camera, the father was actually behind.
Was that the father though? How do we know that was the father?
Okay, true.
It was a man.
It was a man, but I want to believe it was the father, to be honest. But yes, you're absolutely right. Even if it was a man, uncle, brother, you know, I think, honestly, it's a difficult one. And I can only use myself as an example. I can speak authoritatively based on my role as a father. My children know that the worst thing that can ever happen, one of the worst things that can ever happen to them is for the school to call me and tell me that there is an issue. Oh, I don't care how busy I am. I will drop whatever I'm doing and I'll go to the school. And if they need to be reprimanded in front of their teachers or head, I would do it. We are too busy, one, as men, to be honest, chasing, you know, the paper, money, you know, in the context of, I need to provide a roof over my family's head. I need to make ends meet. I need to, you know, jiggy with the big boys and run kitty kitty and kacha kacha. And it does not just bring, you know, the key foundation that needs to be grounded and their presence. It just doesn't, you know, bring that to the limelight. And I think, to be honest with you, some of these things is more or less has been passed down from the top, just like what Obiamaka said, you know, and if you remember, I repeated this, I think when we started, that look, forget about the social media and everything else. Here, there is a flaw here where the parent, the father, has not really played their role as the protector of the children that God has actually given them. Because if you have done that, then some of the things that you're doing, forgetting about all the sexual activities, you will not do it. My girls, if they do anything wrong, I mean, I'm not a dictator. I love my girls, and if they were here now, they would attest to it. The only thing you need to tell them is that, oh, I'll report you to your dad. And their brain will quickly be reset because they know that, not that because that is going to come and shout and scream or anything. No, it's because they don't want to disappoint their father. And the greatest thing any children can ever do is to obviously be that role model for their children. But let me even take a sidestep here. As a society, we are failing as men. Within the Christendom, we are failing as men. And I say that because when you look at all the activities that occur in any churches, majority are geared towards women. They are built up, they are propped up, they give you the strength, the vitality and the knowledge and the information to be a strong woman out there, not a feminist, a very strong woman who knows what she wants and everything. And then the men are playing catch up.
Well, Yomi, could that be because the men are not wanting to take an active role? Because, for example, just to deviate a bit, if a church is doing a seminar or something, or a program to say, if you want to get married, you know, come to church, let's do this prayer meeting. 90% of the people there are women. If they're saying, okay, if you want to have a child, come to church, let's pray, 90% of people there are women. So it's almost as if the men feel we don't need to try to get all these things, because yes, the woman should go and pray and they will find me, basically. So do you not think this is the fault of the men? Because when I see the video this woman did, right, she sat there talking. It looked as though, I mean, I don't know, she was crying, and you could look at her eye movement, her facial expression, and it was like somebody was telling her what to say. And if she was going to talk from her own free will, it was like they would look, and she would look like this, and then she would stop what she was saying. As a mother, I just felt everything she was saying was too scripted. As a mother, just come forward and speak about your child that has been allegedly raped. But everything was so scripted. You could hear the man from the background telling her what to say, telling her to stop. I mean, I don't know. It felt like she was a single mom. I don't know if there is a father. And if there is a father, why wasn't he sitting next to her?
To be honest with you, it still links back to what I'm saying earlier. So let us just hypothetically say that there is no father because they've gone the separate way. Does that mean as the father, you should abdicate your place of responsibility because you're no longer with the woman? No, you don't. But you leave everything to the woman, and no matter how strong our women are, there's still that element of discipline that can only come from the father. I'm sorry. It's just how God set it, unfortunately or fortunately. But then all these things that we men, we run away from, they later on come back and really bite us behind the back, because this has happened now. You don't want to take a shame. Honestly, if I'm a better man, I would say that it's the father that was there actually propping and teaching the woman what to say. But I stand to be corrected. What can we do as a father? Yes, you may go to a church. If, for example, I bring Dangote to my local church and I say they want to teach about business, I can guarantee you all the men will actually turn up. All the men will actually turn up. So it is that reorientating our mind to try and decipher what is more important, in this society, in this life that God has actually placed us, and forget about the perishable thing. The greatest decision that God took over any of our children is to give our children to the mothers and the father, to say that you are the best custodian on earth that can look after these children. And if anything goes wrong, then we have failed, either as a father or as a mother, predominantly as a father, because you're there to support your woman or the mother of your children, and make sure that these children grow up in the way that actually Christ has actually called them to. So there is a lot, and that's why I said I really cannot focus the lens on one aspect. The church field, the parents field, the school field, the government field, all are filled, and it's a matter of, okay, how do we address this moving on?
Yomi, before we address moving on, let me go to Shade and Celia. You both are mothers, and Celia has touched on it. The mother of this child is now being vilified on social media. People are querying, why did she bring this to social media? And Celia, you touched on something, her mannerism in the video appear very
scripted.
Thank you. And because of that, a lot of people are now empathizing with the school, saying there isn't much the school can do. A bad child is a bad child. Those are the exact words. Was she wrong to have sounded the alarm? Because in actual fact, everyone on this panel knew nothing about this video. And if there's anything, the internet never dies. This video has now made it to Pornhub that has no age restrictions, which I'm shocked. It was in this course of this interview that I found out that their kids, as in child pornography, is actually allegedly on Pornhub. I don't know how far that is true. So do you think, because sometimes child X, we don't know if she's 10, 13 or whatever, this video allegedly came out because the mom was saying a child was raped. Could she have managed this better so that we didn't have